Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. In case you missed it, my gosh, was it just yesterday? I did a live stream just building a bunch of models because I have one day coming up, I think it's Thursday, in the near future, where it's going to be really good weather to prime models with a rattle can. So I'm in a race to build just about everything that I have at the moment. And so that's what I'm going to be doing today. So I got some stuff for Stormcast Eternals, I got some historical miniatures, I got all kinds of stuff. So that's all I'm been doing, is just hanging out, chatting with people, and building things. So we can go to the downward cam and take a look there. Thank you so much, Betsy, for hearing and seeing me. I appreciate that. And in the meantime, we can talk about the content that's coming this week, which I'm excited about. It's been hard to articulate how crazy of a couple days it's been, but I was in Ames because my grandmother-in-law took a fall and collapsed, and we wanted to be there for her as a family, and you know, you never know when you're going to lose somebody. Thankfully, we didn't lose her. She's fine and well, but it was just kind of a scare. So it's been a lot of travel, a lot of rushing around on top of all the travel and rushing around from the normal holidays, and here we are. So yeah, what I have here, just a metric ton of Stormcast, and most of it's from Soul Wars. So let's see. Wargamer Willie, howdy, loud and clear. Thank you, buddy. How many do you have to build? How many Stormcast? I think... Ooh, my gosh, what does it come out to be? I think it's somewhere around 2 ballistas, 10 or 15 sequitors, 1 Lord on Dracoth. There's a couple things. We got some stuff. We got some things. Just kind of a nice big smattering. Actually, just earlier today, I did a video that's going up tomorrow because it takes forever to upload, but it is the next chapter of my Path to Glory thing, just kind of talking about, like, you know, where I'm at with that, and basically me and a buddy are looking to restart our Path to Glories. Me for Stormcast, him for Soulblight. He wanted to do it because Soulblight, if you don't know, got some new rules and ways of, like, handling their infantry and stuff like that in the latest White Dwarf. And so he's looking forward to basically doing that, you know, just kind of like taking a moment, pausing, resetting, and going from there. For me, it's a good opportunity to change gears, because when I started the Stormcast Path to Glory stuff, I had very, very limited options. Now I've got a bunch more stuff built and painted and in progress, so my roster can actually be interesting rather than just continuously buying copies of the same units, and the only thing different about them is their casualty score. I'm going to crank this light up a bit. Hey Doug, good to see you. Thank you so much, Christopher. Oh, minis in general? With me, wait, do you mean how many do I own, like, period? Because that is an ever-changing number. I sell stuff a lot. Much to the chagrin of my friends and family. More my friends than my family. My family doesn't care. All the creators' blessings. Question: did you manage to secure a copy of the Fireslayer Idoneth Deepkin book for lore? I have not yet. I have no plans. No one's reached out, but yeah, if you guys have an extra one, I would absolutely love to get that off you. I can pay for shipping or whatever you guys need and get you taken care of. Let's see. Tips. I have a ton of experience with that Soul War set and the Vandus model. You won't get the correct number of special weapons. Yep. Easy to build with 3 and it corrects it. Yes. Yeah, I knew that, and I actually have some extra sequitors. Like, it was really just to help a buddy clear out some stuff. More than anything, if I'm honest with you. It's just because I saw the ballista, and I knew I wanted the castigators, which are on the same sprue, and we had been discussing how cool it would be to have me run a bunch of sequitors, just because thematically, they were released to handle death armies, and my number one opponent, Jeremy, is a Soulblight Gravelords player, and so it was just like, oh yeah, that would be a really cool narrative that we could run, and so that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, I know it's like they gave you way too many heavy weapons, or two-handed weapons. Is that what it was? I can't recall, but yeah, man, I feel like Dominion has been the best. Do I feel that way? Let me think about it. The best in terms of having like, actual workable products in there. It's the best starter set. By that I mean like all the units are their actual size. I remember when people saw Praetors and Annihilators, they're like, 3 men? That can't be a unit? Grubble, 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 grubble. And I was like, well, let's just wait and see. And then it turned out to be true, and then they complained that the Annihilators were only 3 guys. I'm like, well, what? What the heck? Let's see. On Vandus, great model. Warning, underbelly doesn't sit even. Okay. Right on. Yeah, I've built the Vandus one, 2 or 3 times, something like that. We are old friends. Man, I think I had like 3 of them back when I had my first Stormcast army. The Hallowed Knights, when there just weren't a lot of options. I was like, yeah, dude. Double dragon event going on up here. Okie dokie. Actual correct paladin size makes me, playing Stormcast from mid first edition, very happy. Yes. I remember having a blast with the OG paladins, although everyone just ran retributors, which makes sense. They were dumb good. But I gotta say, I'm pretty stinking happy with my decimators now. I think moving away from the number of attacks being dependent on how many enemies are in range was the key. I remember the first time I fielded them, probably the first and last time if I'm honest. It was a big free-for-all game. One of the first times I hung out with the Rerolling Ones crew, and really one of the first times we all had hung out together. I put my decimators into a big fat brick of gore that Brent had, and they just whiffed everything. Like, they didn't do a thing. And I was just crushed. I was heartbroken. Okay. Let's see if we can put this mamma jamma together. Okay, we got the front legs here. Muy bien. Great. If you have the whole of Soul Wars, picking up the Curse Breakers. Nah, I didn't grab the whole thing. I didn't. I knew that I had a buddy with some Evocator stuff. So I chose to hold off on buying the entire set. I was like, I know I can get some of these a little cheaper. But yeah, I do. I had heard of that, using some of those to make it happen. Let's see. Forgive the silence. I'm just trying to... line all these very delicate parts up. And by delicate parts, I don't actually mean delicate. I just mean I don't know how they go together. The only thing I never liked about the Soul War set is if you look at it, sometimes the bodies snap together at an angle rather than straight down, and so it can make it awkward as you're trying to figure out how to get like an arm in the right place. Or a head, apparently. Give me just a hot sec here. I'm just gonna wiggle this. Okay, forgive the silence. There we go. The arm just did not want to lock in. Oh god. I will say, in terms of its creation period, the Soul War stuff to me is the height of do not trust this snap fit idea. Well, like you have to cut the pegs off of things, get it all in there. Cool, that went pretty well. I'm just taking a cloth over my hands to protect my fingers from getting cut up by the plastic and really pressing hard. The woof, I have so many iron jaws to paint. Oh, but iron jaws are so fun to paint. Sweet, and then for you. Sweet. Boom, look at that. We're crushing this. I feel like it feels dumb to humble brag. Look how fast we're crushing these models, and it's all like easy snap fit crap from a starter set. Like, yeah, Doug, you brag, buddy. Go get him. Okay, here we go. Let's see. The bolt thrower team was a pain putting together. I bought 6 bad habits. Battle Barn. Dog! Battle Barn! If you could squat one AOS army, what would it be? So I wasn't around for squats. Does that mean like if you were to get rid of an army? And then never speak of it again. Squat one army. You know, I'm gonna get probably some flack for this. For me, Hedonites of Slanesh. I don't care for Slanesh. I think it invites people without social skills to be really creepy and make everyone uncomfortable. And I can appreciate the themes that it's going for, but at the same time say, yeah, that's apparently too mature for some of these morons. And I just mean stuff like if you've ever hopped onto a Facebook group, and I've had this happen multiple times, someone just gets gross and obscene and they think they're joking, but they're not like reading the room and they don't understand, hey, you're making someone uncomfortable kind of a thing. I've seen it multiple times. Nah. No, thank you. So, yeah, that would be my guess, or my draft pick. Beyond that, that's the big one. Some of them, like there's armies like Skaven that I don't want the models deleted, but I want to throw out the book and have them restart it. Be like, hey, listen, let's just take a step back and figure out what we're all doing here, right? Can we all agree that we messed up how this army functions? Yes. Okay, cool. Not how it functions. It functions just fine, but how you go about collecting and building it. It's very prohibitive for new folks to get into Skaven. Because there's no clear path of purchases. It's just all, choose your own adventure, which is great if you're already comfortable in the hobby, but not if you're a new person trying to figure out how you get into this product line. I've just not seen anyone be weird about it. That's cool, and not everybody is. There's a whole bunch of people, I look at people like Vince Ventrella. He adores Slanesh, loves the army, thinks they're awesome model-wise, that kind of thing, and is the furthest thing from the person that I'm describing. It's kind of like, I've heard this described on a podcast before, and I loved it. It's kind of like how some people just don't know how to be a fan of things without being odd, and I've seen it multiple times, and it just is just uncomfortable. Let's see. I picked up some Apothecary White after you mentioned enjoyed using it. I don't have many contrasts, so I wanted to branch out. Yeah. Well, I have actually a Path to Glory video going out, I think tomorrow. First of all, you get a shout out for your recommendation on buying chariots. But then also, apropos of nothing, I walked through how to achieve my white armor scheme using Apothecary White, which you may or may not find interesting, but it's a good way. It's a good, simple way to do some white with some depth to it. That's how I painted up my Knights Excelsior. Quick, does anyone remember what the name of this model is? It is the wizard that came in the Soul War set. It's like the standalone version. The original is the woman with her arms kind of doing the T-pose. I can't recall what they're called. It's not Knight and Cantor. That can't be it, right? I guess it could be. I might be wrong about that. For some reason, once they introduced the difference between knights and lords in the newest battle tome, I stumble over all of the names for things, even more so than I usually did. Because now you got to look at it and be like, is that an arcanum? Is it a lord arcanum or a knight arcanum? That kind of stuff. It's like, so good. Cool, let's make this more complicated. Said everyone at GW. Knight and Cantor. Okay, I was right. Thank you. We got our towards Selamestant on Jurakoth. Let's see. Are the new Fire Slayers worth getting if you don't get a Magmadroth? You know, I do not have the Battle Tome. They have not sent it, nor have they given me a heads up that one is coming. So I couldn't tell you. If you're asking like in general, I mean, so understand, yeah, I kind of made an assumption there. If you don't know, they are getting a new Battle Tome here, like very soon, I would imagine. So I couldn't really tell you with any firm confidence. I do know it gets a little bit difficult because in that army, just about half the hero options are on Magmadroth. So by saying no Magmadroth, you lock yourself out of a few abilities. The heart of the Fire Slayers is really their infantry more so than their heroes. So like it's not the end of the world. But you're playing a faction that has limited options where you already have an arm tied behind your back with your other arm tied behind your back. Just because you already have so few options, taking 3 of them out of the fold is not probably the wisest. At that point, it's like play something else and get a Fire Slayer ally force, which could be really cool, actually. If you squint, they all look alike. Oh, the Fire Slayers? Absolutely. Yep, naked dude plus what is he holding? That's all that matters in that army, which on some level is actually kind of nice. As opposed to some of the crazier things you might see from GW where it's like, it's not that he's holding something, it's that he's in a different pose or something like that. Naked guy, what's he got? Axe? Cool, done. Berserker. We need a City of Sigmar that has 1/4 rule for Fire Slayers. Don't we have that? It's in Broken Realms. Can someone confirm for me? I feel like I'm... Don't we have that? Man, now I'm thinking. We do for Kharadron Overlords. I have too much Warhammer and need to cut back. How should I decide which single faction to hang on to? Well, let me ask you this, okay? Before you do anything, why do you feel like you have too much? First of all, like, is it about physical space? Like, assess the problem. If it's about physical space, then picking an army that's more elite might be the best, yielding the most result. Just kind of think about why you're clearing stuff out, and then let us know which factions that you actually have. I think that's the KO sub-faction. Okay, yeah, I must really be thinking of something else. But yes, I would love a faction that includes Fire Slayers more, because they really are the perfect ally force. You know, I kind of liken them to Death Watch in 40k, not in any way in terms of how they play, but more like, you know, can they be an army on their own? Yes, but could they also, like, their stat lines are good enough that they don't need to be the main army to be able to provide some value. So like if you have a Cities of Sigmar army, taking Fire Slayers as allies, even though you're not using their allegiance abilities, it still provides you with something because they're chonky 2-wound boys who can throw axes and run headlong into combat. So it still provides a thing that your army wants. I like that. Let's see. Lord Billy, you are correct. Hey Doug, I'm just getting back into AOS. This is Ranchu, by the way. I wanted to ask what you think about any similarities between the Cruel Boys and the Gloomspite Gits. What do I think about the similarities? I kind of liked the idea of the Gits really representing the Mork arm of things, of the Greenskin race, and the Cruel Boys just kind of came in and took that over. Where now I feel like the Gits are like, yeah, they're there. You know, it's like the orcs are like, we love Gork and Mork, and then the Gits are like, and I'm here too. It's like, okay. You know, it would have been cool if that was their thing, right? And then their battle tone was really about being tricksy and stuff. I don't know where that would have left Cruel Boys, but that's kind of how I thought it was going to go. Yeah, I mean, I think they do cool stuff together. I don't really have a strong opinion on them, you know, in relation to one another, because I'll be honest, I don't like study rules and stuff like that as much as other content producers do. So when it comes to the minutia of building an army and seeing how they compare and contrast, I'm like, that's not really my forte. Oh, we're starting a family. Okay, well, first of all, very big congratulations, my friend. Yeah, go ahead and list off. Let's see, unless I missed it. Okay, for AOS, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Soulblight Gravelords, Slaves to Darkness, Gloomspite. Holy Mother of God, you have a lot of stuff. From that list, if it's a matter of space, my suggestion, honestly, is Maw Tribes or Khorne. Fewer models, you know, slightly bigger bases. The only reason I say Khorne is I look at what they did with Nurgle in their most recent book, and I'm like, man, Chaos Armies just sound so frickin' baller. So, you know, like I said, first of all, congratulations. Yeah, I mean, because you're going to be starting a family, you're not going to have as much time for gaming as you like. Why not just like really flesh the heck out of a Maw Tribe or something like that? I think that's my take. Anyone's allowed to have one. Certainly don't go with it just because some nerd on YouTube said so. But for the purposes of what you're looking for in terms of raw space, it's hard to beat Maw Tribes, especially if you already like them and you already own a bunch. You know, it's harder to switch to another army for that reason, but if you already own them, yeah, dude. Get yourself a kick-ass crib in your hobby room, call it the War Cradle, and just have a grand old time. Hell yeah. Okay, so we're going to separate rider bits. Let's see. Put them all in a box for a week and pick the one you think about the most. Yeah, I had thought about suggesting that because, like, when there was a guy many moons ago who was asking if he should sell his Bone Splitters army for a reason. I'm not going to go on his personal. He had a reason, but that was my suggestion. Put it in a box and just don't think about it for a bit. And if you miss it, keep it. If you don't. Thing is, depending on what the missus may or may not want, time might be a factor. And so I don't know. I try to be understanding, especially, you know, it's a crazy time in people's lives when they have a little one on the way. And mod tribes are rumored to get a new battle tome later this year. Cool. Wasn't even thinking about that. But, you know, it's fine. I'm not connected to the rumor mill at all. I find it helps my mental health. Let's see. Yeah, so there's that. What are you then? Aha. You the saddle or something? What's on the table today? This is a whole bunch of Stormcast stuff that I'm trying to build while I have some Prime and Weather ahead of me. And what I cannot figure out is what this piece is. Unfortunately, this particular guy didn't come with any instructions as he was sort of a throwaway model. Okay. Oh, you can find the instructions online. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's see. Give me just a hot second. Weirdly enough, the first thing that came up was an instruction manual for a dreadnought. That's kind of fun. Aha! I have it, but it's sideways. Give me just a hot sec. No, that's the wrong kit. That's for Lord Celestin. The okay, we can figure this out. Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, if you have that link, go ahead and shoot it to me. I'm not seeing where this specific part goes. Unless I just figured it out by accident, which I may have done. Okay, so it's not back there, it's up here. Let's see. When I went to a local tournament, Vandus was really amped up by Vindicators. A +1 to attack and no battle shock is amazing. For sure, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go wrong when like all the math is in your favor, right? Oh, I see. I may have clipped off one of the pegs that it's trying to connect into. That's why I'm not seeing it. Okay. Okay. Let me just double check the direction it goes into. My problem that I keep running into when it comes to building this guy is simply that his name appears in multiple kits. Like there's multiple ways to build a Lord Celestin on Dracoth. Where's it at? It's the newer kit. Hey Doug, happy Sunday. Glad to see you're chilling hobbying too. Oh yeah. Try as much as I can. Thank you for joining me, and I apologize this is not super exciting. Jeremy, I need you to send it to me like on Facebook or something just because you can't share links in the chat. Yeah, that's the booklet. Okay. Well, the good news is I'm finding about 10,000 ways to not do this. How about that? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm missing some chat stuff. When's my book club? You know, I will not lie to you. The last one sucked the ever-loving life out of me. I don't know if I'm going to do them again, to be perfectly honest with you. The reason I say that is because, for whatever reason, whenever I have to read, like on a deadline or something like that, it becomes the most miserable experience of my day. Every time. And I don't care for it. Like Gloomspite, I barely finished that book before we started talking about it. I just didn't. I mean, I don't know. I just really struggle with that one. And then I just feel like I just, no matter what, like, doing it wrong. So book clubs, I don't know. It's also amount of work to what it produces is probably one of the worst things to do. Oh, wait, I know what I can do. I know what I can do. Jeremy, I might have figured it out where to get these instructions. For some reason, I remember him being super easy. You just kind of pop together. But that just might be me daydreaming. This is the most freaking work I've put into finding a singular bit of directions, and it's driving me insane. BT dubs. Okay, I'm now on. I'll go ahead and share my screen so you guys can join along with my own pandemonium. Let's see. Vandus. Okay, that looks like him. Oh, sweet, we found it. Okay, now I will go back to my downward cam. And we can resume construction. And yes, it goes along his back right where I cut that peg out. That's why I was not seeing it. Cool. Slaps right in there. Neato, torpedo, Toledo. Okay. Okay, let me just adjust this so I can get my chat back up here. It's about instructions for Vandus. Oh, we got to figure it out. Thank you, though. There we go. Got it nice and set right there. Perfecto. Okay, it was just. Okay, here we go. So let's see, we got that. Let's glue the tail on while we're here. I'll just continue to embarrass myself as a model builder here. And go ahead and get this other side of the chest on. This is the only model I didn't start with instructions for, so that's... I'm going to go ahead and call it a bit of an oopsie poopsie. Perfect, all lined up there, all lined up there, sweet. Do you not already have a Vandus model? I do not. Nope. This is, you know, my third Stormcast army, and there's been about 3 or 4 years in between the last Vandus I had and this guy. Well, it must have been longer than that, closer to 5 or 6 years, right? Because how old is Age of Sigmar? 5 years old, something like that. Yeah, it was my first army, was Stormcast. but it is a trip seeing how amazing model development has gone in this time, man. Oh, I derped up by putting the other half of the torso on first. There we go. We got it. You know, it's weird. When I follow the instructions, I don't seem to have all these problems. There we go. Let's see. Okay, so I'm back into the chat. If I missed anything, I'm just going to kind of start from where I'm at, just because there's a bunch of discussion that I missed, and I'm sorry. I just don't want to spend a bunch of time going backwards. So if there's a thing you want to talk about and I missed it, just go ahead and ask again. Thank you, Jeremy, for shooting me the link. I got it pulled up. Christopher, what is the hardest model you put together? I hated every second of putting together the Purple Sun Endless Spell. It is a miserable model. I hate it. Oh my goodness. That's about the only one, honestly. I don't really mind. I'm not a fan of building, period, so like my scale is a little bit different because everything just kind of irks me. And then from there, it's like, well, how much does it irk, right? But, you know, I don't really like building any of them. But that Purple Sun, man, it was so sharp. I was stabbing myself. I was saying unnice things, casting curses to the wind, you know, like you do when you're an adult person trying to put together a toy soldier in a frustrating way. So, yeah, not great. Zachosaurus Rex. So what is the best death army? Best how? Like in terms of competitive stuff? Probably asking the wrong guy. I'm tempted to say Soulblight Gravelords. They're real good. That would be my first guess, would be Soulblight, followed by Flesh Eater. See, the thing is, I don't know anything about Ossiarch Bone Reapers. It is actually, in terms of like actual overall information regarding how they play and stuff like that, it is probably the faction I know the very least about. And not for any, like, you know, reason like I hate them or I think they're dumb or anything. I just like literally haven't really ever seen them. No one I know ever really played them. You know, it's just overall exposure. So that's a hard one for me to say definitively, just because there are sub factions and stuff in there that I have just never had the good fortune to play against. Boom. Sexy beast. Okay, let's see. Instructions, exactly. Snatter, do you own a Celestant Prime? I used to, but I do not currently. I like him. You know, he's got a cool shtick. Stay up in the sky and come down and cause murder. When's the time for killing? When he gets there. Okay, I think he's good. Nice. Yeah, let's go ahead and chuck him on there. Boom. I love him. Okay, one more sprue down. Who's next? Does you or anyone else you know a good resource for an... I don't LE5? I have no idea what that is. Explanation of how and when GW releases new models. Can someone translate that? I'm sorry, I don't know what L15 Li5 is. I have no idea. But if you're new to the hobby, understand this. I don't know what that is, but Games Workshop does not communicate on what is coming out in the future unless it's like maybe a month out or 3 months if they do a preview event. And no one knows what's going away until it's basically in the dumpster. They are a business that their business model is based on fear of missing out, which I don't care for. As much as I love their games and their products and stuff, and I do, it's not my favorite way of conducting business. Okay. Explain like I'm 5 years old. Oh, okay. But yes, so thank you guys for translating that. Yes, it is just purely based on the whims of, I don't know, you don't know if it's marketing or not. It's just somebody's whims. Okay. What do we got? I'm basically just going to put these guys into little piles. We'll just kind of go from there. So, yeah, unfortunately, to say that they have a plan or even articulate said plan is giving them a bit much credit. You know, I'm someone who is always very, very hesitant to poo-poo any kind of game company because I know how much work it takes for huge teams of people to go into stuff. But I'll be the first to say sometimes it just, whatever they're doing just doesn't make sense and I don't understand it. So, whatever. Okay, we got this. So, I mean, good news is if you think you're missing something and you're feeling dumb for it, you're not. I guess that's a positive. You know as much as everybody else, and that's just the world you live in. Oh, Seth, hey, thank you so much, buddy. Hey, if you could create another KO character or model, what would you make? And what would it do on the tabletop and lore? That is a fantastic question. Also, if anyone throws anything in the tip jar, like the super chat, you get to choose the conversation for a bit. For me, let me think about that for just a hot second. 11 and 12. I think, let's see, what would a big thing be for me? I'd love it if they had more units like of the Grundstock cannon boat like size where there's no wound bracket, right? It's just a small little glass cannon shooting gun platform. But it's not trying to be more than that. But I wish there was something more interesting than just more boats, you know? More boats. I don't know. Like imagine the Grundstock ship, right? The smallest ship with the little gun platform on it. But imagine one that was like designed to hunt monsters, right? It was just like, because, you know, we're in the era of the beast and all that kind of stuff. Just literally a straight up steampunk expedition. We're hunting lions in the wilds of Africa kind of a thing. But it's just a bunch of really angry dwarves. Let's see, there are 2 of these guys. Okay. What else? That would probably be it. I mean, you know, in terms of like that definitely fits with lore that's going on and all that. I don't know. I don't know what I would want from them. KO is such a very specific army. Like it's not like looking at other factions and being like, what does this army need to do well? You know, where you can look at them a lot of times pretty clearly and be like, well, they need X. They need some hero support, or they need a gun, or, you know, whatever. KO is just one that it's just so wholly unique unto itself. That's a tough one to kind of pin down. What exactly they need. Okay, got those. And let's see, 1 secular prime. That is 22 through 25, 26. Okay, got it all right here. Come, watch me, famed full-time YouTuber, build a kit that's 3 years old. Catch the fever. Okay. But yeah, something like that. Some lighter, faster vehicle hunter. It's not meant to really interact with the transport rules, because honestly, I don't like the transport rules at all. Yeah, that's about what I would say. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to pause there for just a hot sec. We'll get these guys built. Virkos has been a blast to play. Good, I'm glad you're enjoying it. It is such an interesting army to play against. So, fun fact, while I got him in the chat, since he can attest to the craziness I'm about to describe. I have this reoccurring habit where the most damage that my Stormcast army seems to do against my buddy Jeremy in the chat is when I die, when my guys arc back to Azir, they take vampires with them. Okay, one of my crowning achievements of battle is striking down a vampire countess named Marthane. She killed my Lord Exorcist, and my guy died on her so hard that he killed her too. When I say killed, I don't mean destroyed on the battlefield. I mean path to glory. Killed her. She rolled a 1 to see if she stays alive between games, and up dead. Straight up dead. Capital D. That was my crowning achievement. Other heroes of such, fantastic deaths have been... Let's see. I feel like somebody... I can't remember who else blew up. There was some other character that blew up and just absolutely wrecked one of your guys' days, and I can't remember who it was. I think it must have been... Well, it must have been him, I would imagine. I don't know. Having an absolute great time. So, Virkos turns out not just the competitive hotness, but also tons of fun lore-wise too. It's hard to argue with a faction or a sub-faction that does both really well. Oh, what's that? You put all the coolest models into one sub-faction that also happens to be the best rules-wise and also happens to be really cool thematically? Oh, okay. So what's the rest of this book say? It's pretty much how I feel about Soulblight Gravelords. And it's not even like I don't claim to know enough about the game to talk about like internal or external balance. I just mean like literally the way that they loaded the character models that are the coolest sculpts in all of Vampiredom into one sub-faction. You're like, so did you want anyone else to play? Like, did you want anyone to play anything else? Or like, what? You're sending me mixed signals, GW. You seem to think that people will play anything except this, and I don't understand. Let's see. Jason. Hey man, love your stuff. I just built my first 1K army of Pestilence. Sweet! In your opinion, should I start collecting an alternate army now or wait until my first army is at 2K? Well, it depends. Do you and your local friends You know, when you play against folks, are you playing 2K? Because like I generally say, you know, get to a point level where you can meet people where they're at. So if like a local gaming group really favors 2K games, yeah, I'll go ahead and just do a 2K army. You know, I mean, Pestilence is nice because it's pretty straightforward. Your options are somewhat limited, you know, just by virtue of the clan that you're in. So that's generally what I say, but if there's something else that's really speaking to you, or you've gotten, you know, 1K of Pestilence and you're like, okay, now I've played the game a bit more and now I know what I want in the next faction, and you have your sight set on something in specific, that's just as good a reason as any. You know, if you're doing like Path to Glories or whatever, slow grow leagues, you can always come back to it. So that's a bit of a tricky one because it just kind of depends on your group and how you guys play and what you are looking for in the game. Let's see. Off-road turkey, you're going for the classic blue gold color scheme? For me? No. No, I'm doing the Knights. Oh, you mean for the Knights Excelsior, like with white armor, blue and gold? Yeah. Yup. Okay. Let's see. We're all super new. Each of us is only with 1K. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I understand. So, I mean, if you've reached the point with Skaven where you're like, okay, I understand Pestilence, I'm comfortable with the rules, and now I know that I want to play a specific something else to, like, you know, maybe you've learned that you enjoy a different style of play a bit more, I would definitely suggest that. I mean, you know, especially if you're not going to have anybody at a disadvantage as a result. Yeah, dude, why not? Do you have a faction you're kind of eyeing up as a? I would say if you're going to try something else, either go further into Skaven, meaning, you know, once you move away from Clan's Pestilence, you need a bunch of clan rats to be able to make just about anything else work in that faction, right? That's just the way Skaven function. But that being said, like, you know, you could do a whole new, quote-unquote, new Skaven army. Just kind of start from scratch, reload with a different clan, and that way at the end of the day you have multiple avenues that you can play the same faction if you like Skaven. Or, conversely, yeah, man, start something new. It also might be nice to, you know, this is just me as a person, so please don't assume you have to do it too. I tend to be the kind of person that looks at my gaming area. I'm like, okay, what are we missing? I'm going to play that. Like right now, I'm waiting on some Bone Splitters to come in the mail for me because we don't have a single destruction player locally that I can find. So it's like, yeah, I'll take one of the saddest destruction armies out there. Pure Bone Splitters. I'm up to the challenge. Jeremy knows how well I am at getting beaten. I handle it pretty well. Salt levels at a minimum. Gotta have some for flavor, right? You gotta be able to make your, you know, your witty jokes and stuff, but for the most part, I think I keep it pretty level. KO. Oh, you're looking at KO? Yeah, KO is fantastic. If nothing else, you know, I will tell you this: if nothing else, it is decidedly very different from Skaven. How about that? So if you're looking to kind of broaden your understanding of the game and try some very different rules, highly recommend. Plus, heck, if you even just put them on your shelf, they just look impressive, and having a shelf where you can have Skaven versus KO as a display just sounds really neat. There we go. I'm going to hold off on this guy because I know I already have one of him, and I think he is the odd man that creates the weird unit because they're not measured out correctly, which is just frustrating. Okay. Now let's see. So we had her. Now we have these two. Two sequitur A's, two sequitur B's. This seems like a nice, relaxed community. Think I'll stick around. Has anyone been building and paintings of Slaves to Darkness already? Oh, has there been some building and painting of my channel? Yeah, here, 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so if we're talking about Slaves to Darkness, I have mine in a red and yellow scheme, sort of a checkered kind of thing going on. Here's a knight. You just get a broad idea of the scheme. Here is a chariot with the same thing. You can see it's checkered down there on the bottom of the cart, and then also on the barding of the horses. And the checkers are checkered, so up here it's in the top, over on this side it's on the bottom. All mixed with some really, really gross worn, white type colors there. And here's that same scheme on a basic warrior. Yellow and red with the checkers, spin them around, got the gross, nasty white cape. So yeah, those are my Slaves to Darkness. I'm so torn on what to do with them. Because I don't feel like the current rules are really what I was looking for with them, but I do like the scheme that I came up with. So it's fun to paint. It is tedious as all get out, but it is fun. Okay, so we are looking for 16 through 18. It looks like 16 through 20. Flip a bunch of these guys out. But that's really all I have on my shelf. I have a bunch of Slaves to Darkness, including the Warcry warbands. And those warbands I don't have in that same matching scheme. I kind of painted those like as one-off projects. I do want to play more Warcry. I really do like that game quite a bit. If nothing else, it's really nice when you're getting your teeth kicked in to be able to just reset and get 3 games of Warcry in at the same time it takes to play 1 game of AOS. There's just something real nice about that. Okay, head, shoulders. Yep, okay, cool. Very nice, thanks for showing. I'm eyeing a start collecting box for Slaves. The warriors look so cool. Yeah! Oh, thank you so much, Off-Road Turkey. I tried real hard at it. I kind of went the same route as like when I did checkers on Orc 40k stuff way back when. Where I like checkered things on Chaos and Orcs because it's okay if they're super derpy. Like if all the checkered squares don't look perfect on our Harlequin model like in 40k, they look a little rough. But with these things, it's like, oh no, these are supposed to be super dirty, nasty. Like they wouldn't be true sons of chaos if they were perfectly ordered, now would they? So you get away with a lot. And if this hobbies is about one thing and one thing only, it's about cheating. Making it look like you did more work on your models than you actually did. That is how a Doug do. Okay, so these two match. Let's get these over here. 21 and 23. Okay, it's these two. Almost Bretonia feel. Yes, and that's exactly what I was going for. There is a short story in the Slaves to Darkness battle tome that I have always loved. And essentially, it's super good guys. Basically think Bretonia standing the test of time, doing the long fight. And then right as things are about to get nasty, they're like, okay, we need to evacuate. We need to get to the gates of Azir, like now, not 2 minutes from now, but now. Let's go. And so all the people start running wildly, and they get to directly outside of the realm gate, and Sigmar shuts the door. And it's like, oh, snap. And then they actually end up becoming a Chaos Warband because they're so freaking mad at Sigmar for doing that to them. They slaughter the Khorne guys who are chasing them and then just dedicate themselves to chaos. Like, essentially, they, like, offer their souls up. And I think they were called the Abandoned or something like that. It was one of those kind of, like, names. It's like, okay, we're chaos because we just do not like Sigmar. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. So they had sort of a knightly feel, and I kind of leaned into that with the Bretonian style scheme. Let's see. I'm just in time for you to go off the air. Andrew, no. No, I'm probably going to be at it for another 45 minutes, hour. I really want to get this stuff built and done. And it's going pretty fast. You know, it always feels like whenever a project stalls, like if you have to build some of the more complicated kits and you're taking forever, that's when I get kind of tuned out. But this is going pretty fast. We're cooking with gas. We got this. That is way cool. I'm doing very similar for my Soulblight. Fallen Corrupted Bretonia. Nice. When people are turned to chaos, the negligence and prejudice of order factions. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Is I love the idea of, you know, even in trying to do good, Sigmar is doing things that creates villains. You know, but I like it because it's a no-win situation. If he didn't shut the door, chaos would have gotten in. These forces had Khorne demons like on their heels, and he couldn't allow that, so he shut the door. And you're like, that makes perfect sense. And on the flip side, the door gets shut in front of those guys, and they're like, I'm gonna kill Sigmar, and you're just kind of help but think, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That to me is the best kind of villains, is just when, you know, in life, people's motivations, they all just clash, and it's not about being a super villain. It's about, like, sometimes things just pit us against each other. You're like, oh man, that's brutal. But the gap between, you know, of being able to empathize with each other is so great. It's never going to happen. So that's it. They're enemies until one of them is dead, which is brutal. But real. It happens. But I do kind of like to imagine, like, Sigmar looking down on the Abandoned and just talking to them like he's Bison from Street Fighter, the movie. The day that you got locked out of Azir was the worst day of your entire kingdom. But for me, it was Tuesday. But I know Vince Ventrella often listens, and he is not a fan of the moral relativism. He's like, I don't mind having knights that are just good. Why? Because they're good. And I'm like, that's nah. Me in my jaded hobby room being like, nobody's good. Everybody's got an angle. Let's see. Is there a start collecting with Vanguard Hunters? Yes, it's actually a fantastic starter box. And I should probably do a new start collecting box review of it, although I don't think those will be around for very long. But if you can find it, get it, because I think Vanguard Paladors, their stonks went up. It used to be after they did their Ride the Winds Etheric, they couldn't charge. And they have basically changed that to like, now it allows you to functionally just kind of like deep strike anywhere on the board. You know, so you can teleport, stay outside 9. It's just they streamlined it way better than it used to be. Agreed. Is the Grim style making a return to AOS in the storytelling? Yes and no. Like I still feel that Age of Sigmar is much more vibrant and open for both good parts and bad parts than the old world was, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like there's overall a lot of positivity and sort of, I don't know. I feel like there's more room for factions to be doing okay. You know, I feel like in the old world, everyone was 5 seconds to midnight, always, constantly, for various reasons. And I just feel like it's okay if the Fire Slayers don't have a whole lot going on right now. This is the long game. It's not going to be doomsday every day. So I definitely feel like it's taken a step back in some regards. On the flip side, wherever the action is, whether it's the gash with the necroquake or beasts coming out of the wild to eat humans and junk, like wherever the action is, it does feel pretty intense and somewhat dark and gloomy, which I do like, because it makes it feel like there's stakes. Let's see. Can you tell something cool about the Cruel Boys while I assemble some gut rippers? Something cool about the Cruel... No, just not a cool faction. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just 100% joking with you. Cruel Boys are legit. I like them more in the lore than I thought I would. Being this embodiment of Mork, it's one of those things that when you talk about it, you know, it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking like, oh, okay, so they're just sneaky orcs. And it's like, no, man, like they're a bit worse than that, where it's not about sneakiness, it's about the game, that they are a predator. Again, strong predator-prey themes in AOS right now. Specifically a predator that loves to play with its kill. And you're like, it's so brutal. So brutal. Everything is a taunt. It's to insult and break the opponent. Sorry, I've got to clamp down real hard here with a piece of cloth on this guy just to... And I like that because I don't know if you have read Dominion by Darius Hinks. It's the sort of like the narrative book that's sort of defining this chapter of AOS with the era of the beast, as they're calling it. And we're introduced to Cruel Boys there, and so you don't actually see a lot of them fighting, which some people were a little bit disappointed by. Me, I thought it was terrific, because that's not their thing. Their thing is all the things that happen in the book before the fight, of pulling the enemy in different directions and cackling from the fog, and people are going insane, and all these crazy ways to like make their opponents think there's like thousands of them when maybe there's like a couple hundred, you know, like stuff like that. Oh man, those are the guys that I like. This understanding, I think the Cruel Boys are interesting because when other orcs look at an opponent, right, they might think to themselves like, okay, how are we going to break their army, right? Like, who's the biggest thing? How can we go smash it, right? How do we break the army? Whereas I feel like the Cruel Boys look at an opponent and they're like, how do I break you? Like, not your army, you as a person. And that's what they want to do, which is like so messed up and kind of awesome that you can't help but respect it. Like, they would much rather just delay a military engagement to spend 4 more days filling their opponents with fear because it's entertaining and effective, and then they'll go in and pick a fight with everybody, once everyone's good, scared, and broken. It's like, oh man, that's brutal. Let's see. What type of varnish or cover do you use to protect your minis? I'm going to say something that no hobbyist should say, and that is I generally don't do anything to protect my minis. It's a dog-eat-dog world. If they can't keep up, that's their business. Well, yeah, I mean, I say that, and then it's like, well, actually, all that means is it's the person who buys the army once they flip it, their problem. But in earnestness, I don't generally do much of anything to protect them. Some of the fancier ones, like Glock and that kind of stuff, if I do it, I do have a bottle of Tamiya. No, sorry, Vallejo matte varnish here. I'll use it for some things, but it's pretty rare. Let's see. DeWolf, did Slaanesh escape yet? Yes and no. Slaanesh has had a wild ride lately with Marathi crawling down his throat and basically forcing him to barf up a piece of the god. There's still an aspect of Slaanesh that is totally imprisoned still. But there's also a bit of its aspect that has been set free upon the realms, and that is what we know as the twins, Dexessa and Silessa, is that what it is? I can't remember their names. But yeah, so in one sense, Slaanesh, there's a part of Slaanesh that's still in prison, and there's a part that's free walking around. But, and while that sounds weird, it also means it's the only Chaos God that has some form of true avatar, like an absolute direct bit of them, not their essence like other demons, but a true bit of them walking around the realm. So that's a pretty cool thing. It's just I wish they had given the twins kind of a better introduction when they first kind of showed up. They kind of showed up and got punked really fast. I was like, oh, that was a bit aggressive. We didn't need to do that. Could have bought him a drink first. Okay, Castigator. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a weird number of Castigators and Sequitors. Forgot about that. What's the best shade for Stormcast Gold? Does Agrax make it look too dirty? I recommend the Flesh Shade one. That's what I like to use. Mainly because it does darken it like the Agrax Earthshade does. However, it also... I don't know, the tone just makes the gold seem richer. How about that? I don't know how they articulate it. It looks nicer. Looks like fancy deep gold. Gives it that Midas touch. I'm just going to take all of the bits for the same guy. Okay. Twins getting punked by two Humies was the best part of Broken Realms. I had so many complaints, not to me, but like in the comments of that video of just like, wait, so we waited all this time for that? I'm like, yep. It was just, and I speak as someone who, it's hard to not betray the fact I don't care for Slaanesh. I just never have. It's just not my jam. But at the same time, I can also sympathize with like, yeah, when they introduced the Celestant Prime in the Rumgate Wars and he came in like a Super Saiyan, just absolutely trouncing anything that came near him, like multiple books are ended very poorly, I would say, by, and then the Lord Celestant came and kicked everyone's ass. Like, that's literally the ending of multiple Realmgate War stories. To go from that to the birth of a Chaos God has finally come to the realms, and they're dead. Don't sneeze, you missed them. I'm like, oh, okay, that was a way to introduce a character. Makes me think of like when I would would watch cartoons when I was young, right? The first one that came to mind for this example was Beast Wars, because I just love Beast Wars. But you're watching, whatever the newest character to be added was always the strongest, unanimously always the strongest. And so like you'll get new transformation versions of like Megatron or Optimus Primal and all those kinds of things. And I just imagine what the show would have been like if whatever the newest thing was got punked episode 1 that they were in. And not that it's better or worse than being god tier fighting in one episode and then kind of weak in the next one, which is always what happened. But it was just that change of like, this is brutal. This is brutal. They got killed by take your daughter to work day guy. Oh, man. That is the best show. I loved it. My favorite was Depth Charge because I love manta rays so much. So much. Gilliman Contrast makes the gold look better. Yes, actually, Gilliman Contrast is a super good way to highlight, or sorry, wash, I should say, gold. Because it is Reichland Flesh Shade, but with a bit more pigment. That's kind of how I would word it. Good call. Soul Wars were the first models that I built. Thought I did a great job at the time. Look back a week and it's terrible. I mean, that happens to all of us with our first models. That's why there are no good or bad models. There's only good or bad in the moment. I did it. It looks good. I get better at painting. I come back and I do something better. It also looks good, but it doesn't invalidate anything you did before. It is always okay to say, this is my first attempt at something, and it's not best, but I can be proud of it. Last time we got a reference to Hit and Run, now we get one to Beast Wars. Honestly, I'm never prepared for these flashbacks. That's, I have like a small handful of shows that I draw all of my dialogue and or worldviews from. So you're getting them. You're getting them. Simpsons Hit and Run, Morrowind. I saw someone else mention the Mournhold, Cities of Light, City of Magic. Yes. What else do I got? Lots of Futurama we've joked about on here. Oh yeah, all that stuff. I'm here for it. Okay. I tried to put lips on one of my early models, and now it looks like it has a massive tongue coming out of its mouth. Like, oh, you tried to paint on lips? No, I learned that pretty quick. I would rather, because, yeah, I was painting, what was I painting? It would have been, would have been models for War Machine and Hordes, where I'm like, you know what's better than a whole bunch of mutant soldiers who have deformed mouths? A bunch of creepy silent people. I'm gonna go with that because they don't have creepy mouths that look like they're trying to eat me and all the children in a 12-mile radius. So yeah. That's how I got around that mentally. 'Tis the realm of Signar, and nary a lip has been seen. Cool. Good. Keep it that way. Keeps the nightmares at bay. I love it. Keep them coming. Well, I'm good. Gotta have some kind of entertainment value. I was trying to explain to my nephew recently. He was asking questions about being a YouTuber, and he was just kind of, just asking about like what it's like to be online and stream and that kind of stuff. It was super cute. He's like way too young to be able to do this, but he's like, well, what if I don't want to like talk about shows or just talk to people in general, period. But then also like about shows I watch, and I was like, well, then you're just a guy playing video games online, and that's totally cool. But like, you gotta have some personality, you gotta have some pizzazz. Let's see. Gore Grunta Bell. That's an awesome name. Sorry, I had the hiccups there. I'm working on finishing up my Maw Crusher tonight. What is everyone else working on? I got a bunch of Stormcast stuff here. We are finishing up as I try to fight the gray plastic in my house because I have a single day that looks like it's going to be good for Rattle Can Priming coming up. And I'm excited for it. So I want to have as much as I can ready to roll for such an occasion. I tried wet blending for the first time ever today on a Saurus shield. I felt so brave. Rainbow style shield. Well, congrats. That's awesome. I'm going to say this with as much love as I can, so wait till the end. I'm uninterested as to how well you think you did, and just wanted to say I'm happy for you for trying something new. Now, if it turned out well, that's awesome too. But regardless, even if in 2 days you look at it and you're like, nah, it doesn't look quite right, I think I could do better. The fact is, you tried something new, and that's awesome. So golf claps all around. People can attest to the fact that I am the worst when it comes to trying something new. This awesome community has been trying to get me to use a wet palette for many years now, and hasn't worked. So, ha! But I'm happy that you tried some wet blending. It's a skill, It's one of those things. There's all different kinds of products, like a retarder or something like that can slow down how quickly paint dries, that kind of stuff. All those things are available to you, but just the simplicity of trying to blend two paints, man. It takes a long time to master, but I'm sure it looks great. Let's see. I think I heard Beasts of Chaos might fuse with Slaves to Darkness. I've heard that rumor as well. And I gotta say, I wouldn't be disappointed by it, honestly. I think the two factions would benefit from being combined in the sense that, individually they do a lot of the same thing, right? They don't have a massive amount of magic. They don't have a massive amount of shooting, if any at all. They're just a lot of foot troops that run forward and punch the enemy, and that's totally cool, but it's a bit redundant. So I do think that combining them, maybe dropping some of the weaker models from either of the lines, because let's all be real, they are there, and doing that I think might actually benefit both armies / whatever the new faction becomes. I would be cool with that. Conversely, I'd be happy if they stayed separate, just had a little bit more character or definition to them. Let's see. I'm making tacos. What's up, Jordan? Enjoy one. I'm actually... Funny you mention that. We're doing taco bowls for dinner tonight as our healthy option. Well, it's sort of taco bowls. It is the healthier option, so there's lots of... Almost a veggie bowl, but with some taco seasoning. Trying to lose some weight. That's not true. Not really about weight. It's more about just having a long, healthy life with the missus. Okay. Furry Slaves to Darkness. That's the name sorted out, right? Yes. Yeah, that's another thing, like, you know, someone asked, explain it like I'm 5 with the, how GW announces things. It's like, they just don't. That's another one where it's like, yeah, this could use some clarification. People would love to know if these two factions are coming together or not. I don't think it would be bad. That's one of those things that's like, I don't think anyone would be outraged. Oh, well, that's not true. Somebody would. It's the internet. But I don't think anyone that matters would be outraged. Let's see. Whoa, Off-Road Turkey painting some War Master 10mm Norse. You know, I have been on a huge, this is just for me personally, not so much for the channel, indie game kick. I have been looking at other games like Stargrave and a lot of the stuff that the Blaster guys are doing. So that's Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games and his friends, Sean Stutter, all that kind of stuff, Joseph McCullough. Super awesome, cool game designers. I've just been smitten with a bunch of them. And the more I've learned about, like, you know, designing your own game and creating your own world and that kind of stuff, the more I have been exposed to scale games like War Master was. And I totally missed that train, and it bums me the heck out. Because to me, I feel like that's what wargaming in the old world was supposed to be like. That's an opinion statement, not fact. Feel free to disagree. Being wrong is totally cool. Everyone else is doing it but me, so I'm sure there's something to it. But, yeah, man. It's okay to be wrong, says the guy who all of a sudden can't manage to get this model in. All that to say, I developed an appreciation for the scale of that kind of combat that I did not have before. Okay, what's going on? Now, I don't actually need every castigator to fit and work. I just need most of them to. So what's going on? Okay, this seems to work. Some of the pegs are a little bit too long. This community is so fantastic. Best kinds of people. Oh, thank you so much. Never thought watching people build could be so satisfying. It is, you know, it's just leisurely, I believe is the word. Leisurely. Okay, what's left? I think it's just the ballista, right? Yeah. Just ballista number 3. Let's see. There's some amazing sculpts with the rise of 3D printing. Ooh, I have not checked that out. That's a dangerous road for me to go down. The only reason I don't have a 3D printer yet is because I, one, don't want to learn how to use it. But more importantly, it is just one more thing to maintain, and I just can't do it. Also, the smell. Like, the fumes and that kind of stuff. I don't know. Yeah, we have a, I don't know, a small apartment per se, but free space like that is pretty limited to be able to have a ventilation system or something like that in place so it just doesn't reek. Okay. So with this, I will be done with the Stormcast Eternal stuff that I have. So that's exciting. But after that, I have, weirdly, some historical stuff. Because between me and my 54 concurrent viewer closest friends, which are you guys, I have a bit of a secret project. I was inspired, as I said, by looking at many of those games, indie games about historical battles. I'm kind of cooking one in my own head. And actually, I got a deck of cards here to show you kind of what I was thinking. So I'm going to build models and talk game mechanics, Ed Sheeran style, thinking out loud, okay? So let's say you're playing a game. I'll show you how this all works, at least how it works in my head as of right now, okay? Let's say you got 2 units. We'll go upside down, right side up. That's what they're called, right? Upside down guy wants to shoot at this guy. He has a ranged attack score of, we'll say, 7. Let's say this guy has a defensive 12. You flip the card. Boom, jacks are equal to 10. 10 plus the 6 here is greater than the, plus the 7 here is greater than the 12. 17 to 12. The attack is successful. If you were to flip, say, a 2, it would be a fail. Now, okay, so it's very simple. You're using the cards to determine you need to get equal to or higher than the value of their defense to be able... Sorry, I'm going to say higher than, not equal to, but higher than the value of their defense to be able to go through. That's pretty simple math stuff that you can figure out. The difference is, let's say you make that shot. You get your 10, you make the shot. On the weapon profile for upside down guy, it'll have 2 values, one in red, one in black. Let's say the red value is 2 damage, the black is 3. You then flip the next card. Doesn't matter what the number is, the suit is a black, meaning spades and clubs, and reds are hearts and diamonds. This tells you which weapon profile you are using. So you're using, they hit them for 3 damage rather than 2. Now, what I like about the deck cards is because there are 4 suites and 13 numbers apiece, you can do some interesting things. For example, what if you had a card that required like a special effect? If you draw a face card, your opponent is set on fire. That's the fire effect. Well, all of that can be calculated using probability. So if you drop down a queen, when you flip to see what damage profile you use, if it's a face card, it also does fire. And so you can use the numbers, the faces, the suits, the colors, all those things can be used to determine preset probabilities. And in addition to that, you and your opponent. So it's like Malifaux. Malifaux has a few different things going on with it. I'm not going to say it's totally dissimilar. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. Games used cards before Malifaux as well. I'm not claiming to be original. What I'm saying is the actual inspiration for that actually comes from, what is it called? Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. In that game, you roll a die, and some dies have special face values on them. And it's like, you roll to see if your attack is successful. But hey, on the off chance that you also get this specific die face, X special ability triggers. In this regard, it would be a face card or, a certain number. You can even have it, if you want to get into the minutia of having it be like, this effect triggers on a 7 or greater of red. Okay, well that gives you, again... Did Doug just invent Malifaux? Yep, nailed it. But yeah, so that's kind of where my head's been at. I like the idea of the deck of cards being the controlled probability. But, as you're pointing out, apparently I'm just in for a lifetime of people comparing me to another game, so maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe Malifaux really did just buy all games that use playing cards, and it's a bad idea. But ultimately, I thought it was interesting. Interesting. Savage Worlds has an imitative system based on playing cards, but I've never seen an attack based on cards. And that's kind of my thought, like with Call to Arms, it's very much its own. Like, it has proprietary dice, and I'm never a fan of proprietary dice. But I like the idea of, okay, we have a common pool that we all draw things from, and it's just a matter of what are the odds of that effect happening? What are the odds that maybe both weapon profiles, black and red, are pretty weak, but if you draw a red, it sets them on fire. If you draw a black, it pushes them back 3 inches. Or, you can invent all kinds of fun rules. That'll come up. Now, at this point, I'm going to say something that probably none of you are going to frickin' believe, and I apologize. I've never actually played a game of Malifaux. I've bought some of the models once because I thought I was going to get into it, and then it was the local store in Ballard, Washington. The community just, for whatever reason, overnight disappeared. No idea what happened. Don't know if there was a schism or what. But, yeah. Let's see. So, let's see. Sounds all like Malifaux. If there's only one deck, yes. And that is the thing. There is one deck. Does Malifaux, each player has their own deck, right? Could you build a deck? Could you build on deck building? So each player's deck could be set points. Huh. Well, so I would want... The idea is you and your opponent are using the same deck of cards, okay? You have 5 cards in your hand, your opponent has 5 cards in theirs, and 5 is an arbitrary number. I was kind of oscillating between 5 and 7. I have to think about how it affects the probability of things. But based on that, I don't know. Could you have a deck that focuses more on attack? Certainly. Well, actually, one thing you could do, and this is, I'm going to give full disclosure. There is a game, you should go buy it on War Games Vault and Drive-Thru RPG for the matter, where it's called Muskets and Horses, I think it's called. It is a miniature agnostic game. He uses a deck of cards in a slightly similar way. It's used for generating values between 2 and 10 with all the face cards, but not what I described here. But he does this interesting thing where not only do face cards represent 10, but they also have their own built-in effects. So, like, every time you get a king, the unit who drew that heals a wound. In addition to anything else that's going on, they heal a wound. So you could attach mechanics to certain card faces. And in that regard, then you could have attacker and defender. So if you're the defender, face cards mean X. If you're the attacker, face cards mean Y. which could be a cool way of doing things, because that way, you know, mission to mission, you can tweak and kind of create the vibe you're looking for. Ballard went poof after a huge slow grow league that benefited those who could play more games way too much. Oh, Ocho Miniatures. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. It just occurred to me who you are. Took me a second, didn't recognize the username. Yeah, and then I was kept being told, like, oh yeah, Malifaux scene there is popping, Papa Lapa Lapa, Papa Lapa Drucket. And so then I actually got there for a demo night, and it was like me and like a pair of, I don't know, dust bowl clouds just kind of going past me. Tumbleweeds, that's the word I was looking for. I was like, hello? Does anybody know Malifaux? There's just a bunch of jaded demons in the corner being like, go away, noob. My thing that I've heard about Malifaux is that the body of knowledge required in terms of understanding how all the factions work is quite extensive, and that's kind of one of the things that's kept me out of it. Come on, man. Sorry, buddy. I got a lot of names in my head. I'm sorry. If there's one deck of cards, then players could remember what cards have gone, like card counting. Sure, not everyone remember, but for example, there are no kings left. Exactly, yes, and that is part of it. It's not just random values, it's a risk-reward kind of assessment. As far as someone asked, like what time period am I having it set for? Because I did mention I kind of wanted it to err towards historical. American Civil War. Not necessarily like during the war itself. It could be during the Reconstruction period that came immediately afterwards. I would be cool with that. But that level of technology and military thinking combined with how many different worldviews were in America at that time, between Native Americans who straight up owned the places that everyone was trying to conquer, and then you have obviously North and South with a huge disparity between those two, in terms of what they understood of business and commerce and how the nation was supposed to work. And there's just incredible stories to be told in that time period. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. We got some models built. Okay. Andrew, I like you, but I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Let's see. So, yeah, I'm sorry. So, to answer one of the questions before. So, maybe I don't want to do deck building, but I would be interested in having, if you're the attacker and you draw X card, this happens kind of a deal. And then you can just control how often you have those events transpire by, what the math is on when a card is drawn. Okay. And just nice thing about these types of models is you don't have to glue them, and I certainly appreciate that. And so, yeah, that's the core of the engine, is literally just flipping cards. Everything else measured in inches, that kind of stuff, it's all going to be pretty basics. I am going to have I was thinking about having like orders. So, some heroes can issue orders to one another. Again, it would be a card flip, but they could also have modifiers to things. Maybe you can give a unit a modifier to their weapon. So, for example, any unit that's near the sergeant or whatever, when they fire, if they flip a red card for damage, it sets people on fire, right? You can just kind of tack on rules that way and create meaningful synergies. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to hold off on that last guy simply because I don't know if I need him. And if I don't, I want to have the... Well, actually, screw it. I'm just going to build him real quick. Let's just do this. Third edition also didn't... Oh, when it comes to Malifaux. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, and not because I don't know a single thing about third edition Malifaux, but what I mean is whenever an edition change happens, you always have people who leave. It is what it is. So I'm sure if the group was already in a sour mood, that probably didn't help. Sounds pretty sweet from the overview. I love playing cards. So many use them in decks. Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's just... I'm not looking to approach historical gaming with any notion of radically changing the way games are played, right? That's not the jam. It's not what you're there for. Although I am... So as much as I said that the Civil War period interests me, so does Cthulhu and that kind of stuff. So I am looking to... slide some of those mutual interests together, create a horror type thing. Yes, I know it deviates from the purpose, but it's what I like. I like that whole era of conflict and technology but that's the idea that I have so far. And like I said, I'm just playing around with, the really learning the probabilities of what you can do here. Obviously, you would want low cards for bravery, right? Twos have value because they would allow you to auto pass a morale check, or not auto pass, but 2 is a pretty low score. We can have the faces do things depending on who's the attacker, who's the defender. Anything else can be a special ability. You could have special abilities linked to suits. So specifically, it's not just that it has to be red or black for the damage. It specifically has to be clubs kind of a thing. And then you can get even deeper, as someone mentioned in the chat, and have it be, 8+ on a spade triggers X effect. Well, a 9 of spades would do that. That kind of stuff. You can be as specific as you want, and I think that's pretty cool. Figuring out this card game sounds like an optimal summer vacation pastime. Yeah, I mean, I'm working on it very, very slowly in the background. I still have Legacy of Atmos stuff that I am working on, but I kind of like the idea of those simple games that are just PDFs, Like, you can go onto War Games Vault and pick one up. And it's just to add a little something different. Look at this fat box of glory. All of that's getting primed this coming week. I'm excited. Much excited. Toss these. Build instructions away. Would you keep all face cards 10s? Do you mean like would all the face cards count as 10s? Yes, and I think that definitely skews stuff. I mean, mathematically, it certainly adjusts kind of the curve of things. I'd probably have them count as 10 and then have some special effect on top of them, maybe relating to the scenario. Aces, I think, would be great to keep as either 1s or 10s, just because it kind of left some leverage to if you have a test that you need to pass, where you need a low number or a high number. Super useful. But yeah. I really want to play some one-page rules? Dude, do it. They're fantastic, man. If you like Lovecraft, you'd probably enjoy Darkest Dungeon. What kind of game is Darkest Dungeon? I've never heard of that. Oh, wait. I got one more Stormcast thing to build. This boy! Night Judicator. It's not actually for me. It is a Christmas gift for my good friend Shu from Rerolling Ones. Here we go. Cool. We have this thing. It never happens on Christmas, even though it's a Christmas deal, where we always choose a model for each other, and we just set about painting it. And so I've been very behind on this because I knew that there were absolutely no days where I could actually prime coming up soon. So I was kind of just twiddling my thumbs on it, but the nice thing is he wanted it in my scheme, which is so stinking quick. I can get it done in no time. Gotta go with the Mohawk Nighthead. Thank you. 3 for the torso. Here we go. Your last Stormcast model was amazing. Oh, thank you. So how much longer am I streaming? That's been asked a few times. Are people on a schedule? Am I just like way behind the times or something? I don't really have a set time whenever I get tired. At least for as long as it takes to build this model and a bunch of really, really inexpensive historical Civil War models. How about that? That's me timeline. Or if my wife comes in and she's like, get off! Which has maybe happened once in the history of my channel. Are this card talk? I'm looking at replacing my top Trump fantasy so I can scan the Imperial card and frame it. Can't say I know what that means. But, so, I don't know. I was exposed to a few games that use cards to determine their effects and that kind of stuff. And I just really found it to be a striking idea. And so that's kind of where my mind's been at lately. And then on top of that, it's like, what kind of effects do I want to see? So for example, like, do I want to have a game where there's zombies and people are being set on fire and all? It's like the obvious answer is, yeah. Who doesn't want that game? Am I just not understanding how this head goes in? Oh, I see. That's why I was doing it wrong. I forgot that he's up on a hill, like he has like a stone thing that he's standing on. And so I was like, how come the head keeps looking like it's pointed all the way down? I must have it in place wrong. I didn't. Okay. Hey, there he goes. Pops right in. Nice. What's he building? This is a Night Judicator. This is one of the newer Stormcast heroes that they got. It's the lady with the bow of the gods, which is what I'm calling it from now on. If you don't know, Like once per game, this hero can like shoot a rocket into the sky and have it rain down ICBMs on people. Pretty cool. Nice girl. Alternate U.S. history. Well, you know, yes, we'll go with the alternate Cthulhu history. I think that would be rad. Jeremy, if you have any ideas on how to make that a reality in terms of cool design mechanics or storytelling, my man, I'm all ears. We can talk about it as you're kicking my butt with my Stormcast models. That'll be a fairly good consolation prize. I destroyed your hopes and dreams, but I gave you some cool ideas for some game stuff. Yeah. Totes. Oh, was this whole thing kind of a snap fit deal? Huh. Well, my least favorite thing happened when the pegs just don't quite line up right. I gotta kind of work it apart. I'll show you some stuff from our Deadlands. I have never heard of Deadlands. Nice. I swear someday someone's going to think I'm lying to them by saying I've never heard of these games. But that's the truth. I don't know a great deal. That there. Let's clean off the bits from this thing. You know, someone asked about Deadlands before on a show, and is that game still around? Okay. If you want alternate history games, history mysticy stuff, that time had a lot of ghost towns popping up. Yeah, as early cryptid stories, for sure. Oh yes, I'm all about cryptids. I need to figure out a good way to turn psychology into a rule set, because my opus that I want to do, the thing that I want to leave the world with, is a game about Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 1960s when all hell broke loose. There was aliens and men in black and the Mothman. If you have ever seen the Mothman prophecies, that's the time period where all that happens. Super bizarre stuff. They had a war game in the 90s. It's dead. The RPG is still alive and well. Okay, cool. So, we got his spear. But we got a few other doodads to add to this boy. Have you tried Wild West Exodus? Yes, I actually have some lore videos here on the channel for it. I just could never get a game in. Never, never, never. But I do find it to be super cool sounding. I will say I love the models. The scale is a little bit bigger than anything that GW does, but I think that actually adds to it quite a bit. Let's see. If you're thinking, Doug, are you putting a scope on a bow and arrow at the moment? And the answer is yes. I wanted to do something a little special. Got stuck to my finger. There we go. The alternate European history Scythe board game is real juicy, carried by the artwork. Well, I do have a whole army. Do you know, I actually moved to Iowa. I'm nowhere near you. If you ever get back here. Yeah, I would love to. Actually, you were one of the first people who showed it to me. I don't know if you remember that, but well, I guess you probably wouldn't, because you weren't giving me the demo in particular. It was actually somebody else, and I was just standing there watching, but gotta go. See you later, buddy. Tell you what, we're gonna give our boss a chance to dry just for a little bit. We can build this stuff separate. Okay. Oh, I think I'll have to finish this guy another time. Actually, I just looked at the clock. It's 5 o'clock. What I will do is end this video talking about some cool stuff that's coming up this week for you all. So things that I have planned, I have an update to my Path to Glory series for my Stormcast, kind of explaining why things went a little bit dark, and possibly doing a little fresh reboot of it now that I've expanded my collection somewhat. In addition to that, what else we got? We got some lore for Legacy of Atmos. We got why you should play dang it. Okay, why you should play for Auric Warclans, which is always a faction that people like to talk about. And there was something else. Man, what was that other thing? It's gonna drive me nuts. Oh, I think it was the second part of that Conquest series. The tutorial, welcome series, basically, for newer folks. I actually really appreciate that one. I've been enjoying that series quite a bit. Let me flex some of my editing muscles a little bit. Anything to break up the monotony. Nice. Volcroscophia is ready. Nice. Oh god, just dropped everything I was working on. Let's get this guy on here and we will call it a day. Nice. I like this guy. It's a good model. He goes together real well. Need to get one for myself. Very neat. No, I remember I was getting a demo from Falcone. Oh, that sounds familiar, that name. Right on. Okay, friends. I'll hop off here. Tomorrow I will finish building the rest of these Griffhounds, as well as my Civil War miniatures. Historical nonsense. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me. It's been a blast, and it certainly helps the time go by faster. That is for sure. I look forward to hanging out with you all very, very soon, and I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye. Happy wargaming.